Hello and welcome to Joyful, the podcast that will help you live a more joyful life. I'm your host, Chloe Markham, and it's my mission to help you find more joy every single day. This podcast is a deep dive into ways to reduce your stress, your overwhelm, anxiety, and that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, whilst also diving into the methods, philosophies, and protocols that help us live more connected, grounded, and ultimately happier lives. This is about living life on purpose. Without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, my friend, welcome back. And today, I'm talking about something that has been really potent for me lately. And that's the idea of being flexible with habits and routines. And how actually I think being flexible with them is the key. But before we dive in, as always, let's just take a moment. I don't know what you're doing right now, but can you do it a bit more presently? Can you feel your butt on your seat, your feet on the ground, the feeling of the fabric of your clothes on your skin? Are you cold? Are you warm? I don't know, just arrive into yourself, and then let's take a big breath in. Hold it at the top. And then as you exhale, every tension in your body, just melt it away. And maybe take another breath or two, or take this time just to move your neck. Give yourself a little massage in the shoulders. Or if you're in public, I don't know. Just give yourself a little tiny wiggle that no one looks weirdly at. But I think it's important, right? And that's one of the reasons, just to remind you, if you've been listening to me for a while, is I want this podcast, these little audio rambles to be like a little coming home to yourself and a reminder that life should be more joyful, right? And that's why it's called Joyful, right? Anyway, this is what I think, right? I think letting go of rigid routines can actually bring you more joy. And I actually think wellness overwhelm is a thing. Wellness hustle is a thing. And if you're anything like me, if you're a tiny bit type A, that kind of person that really gets sucked into every wellness hack in the world, you probably know what I mean when I say this can get really overwhelming pretty quickly. And this actually came off a few days I spent with my family. My brother and my dad, we went to Staithes. If you've never been to Staithes, it's beautiful. It's one of those quaint, old-fashioned English seaside towns. And by old-fashioned, I just mean it used to be one of the busiest fishing ports in the northeast of the UK in the 1800s. But it's obviously no longer a big fishing port. But it's like a cozy little rambly, tiny little town. Airbnb and Holiday Let Central, obviously, which is a very strange thing. Where do the locals live? And I know that's a whole political conversation. Maybe we'll park that for another lifetime, because that's not my jam. But anyway, you get the picture. Tiny streets, cobbled lanes. I think there's one pub and fossils on the beach. And it's beautiful. And actually the trip I took with my brother and my dad was a long time in coming. My dad lives in the south, and we don't see him an awful lot. So it was one of those memory-making trips. And my 41-year-old brother was hunting for crabs in rock pools, and my 78-year-old dad was climbing over walls trying to find fossils. And we sat by the fire, we watched movies, we played games, we went for walks. It was brilliant. But the reason I'm telling you this is because my plan, whilst on this, 3-day trip, was to make time every day for a little bit of work. And so I took a work-related book with me. If anyone out there is running their own business, I really recommend Hype Yourself by Lucy Werner. It's great. I was planning to maintain my morning routines and maintain this kind of tentative but a grasp on work, right? On work and my habits and whatever. And can you guess what happened, my friend? It all went out the window. I didn't read the book one time. I didn't do any of my morning routine habits, which I'll tell you in a minute can be a little bit overwhelming themselves. Like, I mean, fucking hell. But I think this is the key, right? The key isn't that I dropped my routines. The key is my response to that. And I'm speaking to anyone here who has any similar responses when they skip their workout, or they don't do their morning meditation, or they don't read the book that they were supposed to read, or they lag behind on their habit to-do list. It's the guilt. Why can't I stick to my habits? Am I actually just a useless cretin? Wasn't this trip supposed to make me feel more balanced? Not less. But first of all, I would argue with that. I actually did feel more balanced from that trip. It gave me the warm and fuzzies. I bonded with my family, and I have made some great memories, and I've got some great photos. I've even got a fossil that lives in my bedroom. Like, I think we put on ourselves the idea that if we maintain all of these habits and all of these things, that equals balance. When actually, life happens, and that's not how it works. So, what is it about habits and routines? Why do we cling to them like life rafts? I have, like I said a moment ago, about 25,000 habits. So my morning routines can get a little long. Meditation, journaling, movement, reading. I also try to maintain my habits of practicing my piano every day and my violin and doing music theory, practicing yoga nidra every day, walks outside every day, you know, and I bet you have your own too. It almost becomes impossible because then all of those habits are layered on top of brushing your teeth and like basic hygiene. And sometimes I'm speaking to my PMS people. When you're overwhelmed anyway, brushing your teeth can feel like a fucking mountain to climb. But when I take all of them off, when I'm in my follicular phase of my cycle, that energetic phase of my cycle post-period, I'm like a queen. I am winning at life. I'm energized, I'm positive, I'm feeling in control. Those habits give me structure and they help me feel anchored and balanced. And I don't need to tell you this, but obviously these sorts of routines move us forward in our aim to get healthy, to grow personally, to find balance. This isn't an attack on habits. These habits are amazing. But it's when we don't manage to keep up with them. This can be really shit. For me, at least, there's a feeling of guilt and overwhelm. There's even this like destructive pattern that comes up from that guilt and overwhelm that makes me avoid doing any of them anyway. Any of them. Because the weight of all of them is too much. It's the ultimate in feeling like a failure, right? When you skip a day or you skip a week, or life gets mad and suddenly you're... I have a girlfriend going through the divorce and she's just living week to week, and it's like, of course you're living week to week. Of course your habits have gone out the fucking window. You know what I mean? It's one of the most stressful things a human being can do, right? Go through divorce. I mean, yes, obviously, war, famine. I maybe said that flippantly, but come on, right? For me, it's like, wait... I'm supposed to be a fucking yoga teacher and I can't even keep up my 5-minute, 10-minute daily meditation habit. What a loser. I mean, everyone on social media is able to do this, right? Everyone. People will probably laugh at me for being so fucking useless. And I'm supposed to be teaching others about this. But here's the thing. The shitty self-talk, the guilt, this is what makes it terrible. Not the fact that you've skipped your workout or whatever the habit is. It's the self-bashing that comes with the skipping. And on that trip to States with my family, I so felt it. There was that little voice in my head. You should be doing this. You should be reading the book. You should be doing the morning routine, your morning movement. You should be sticking to your routines. There was that layer of guilt, and admittedly, this is getting less and less every time because I'm working on this, right? But it was there, and instead of enjoying this memory making, the cute cottage, the time with my family, I spent way too much energy, and by way too much I mean any is too much, really, on the shoulds. And because here's the thing, right? Routines are supposed to be serving us, not the other way around. Our life isn't about becoming the most habit-stacked person on the planet, no matter what James fucking Clear says in his book. If you've read it, don't read it. I mean, read it if you want, but I found it a bit dry, if I'm honest. Anyway, my point being, we are not about being habit queens. That's not what life is for, right? These habits and routines are there to support us in becoming strong and resilient and healthy. And when we become really rigid about maintaining them, especially in situations where it's just not that feasible, the joy of the experience gets tainted by guilt and self-criticism. And let me tell you something, babe, nothing kills the joy of a trip away with your family faster than the feeling like a failure because you miss a couple days of your bloody meditation. This has been, like I said, a long time lesson for me. My boyfriend lives in London, I live in Yorkshire, and so we're in a long distance thing. And the thing is with this, I go to London for, could be long stretches of time, a week or two at a time. And what's funny is my boyfriend has absolutely zero semblance of routine, except for the fact he feeds his dog and takes showers so hot they'd cook a fucking egg, right? Maybe opposites attract. Maybe that's a thing we can attribute this to. So especially because of his lack of routine, when I go to London, I really struggle with all of my routines. I don't tick off the habits, and then I get guilty, and that guilt leads me down a road of self-destruction, and I eat too much chocolate, and I don't take care of myself at all, because what the fuck, my morning meditation's gone, so therefore let's just throw it all out the bloody, you know what I mean, right? But here's the thing, and this is what I did. I've recently come back from 2 weeks in London, and I practiced this, and for the first time it was really impactful for me. This doesn't have to mean anything about you. You're not a failure, you're not useless, you're not worthless, you're not self-sabotaging. I mean, even that word, self-sabotage, it's interesting, I think, that it's actually making us feel like we are our own worst enemy, which can be hugely derailing on its own. It's mostly, and this is a conversation for another day, right? Or a therapy session, but mostly this self-sabotaging is just ways for your childhood self to protect you. Isn't that lovely? And I mean, once we know them, these protective ways, we can spot them and move on. Anyway, my point being, this doesn't have to mean anything about you. You just need softness. We need to build habits and routines that are allowed to have wiggle room for when life happens. Because I think the aim, and correct me if I'm wrong, please reply to this. I think there's comments in Spotify and Apple Podcasts now, is there? Can you comment on this podcast and respond to me, or go on my Instagram? I'll be posting about this podcast on Instagram. Respond to me or email chloe@theyogarevolution.co.uk. I'd love to hear what you think. Our aim, right, with these habits and routines is to improve our mindset, our health, or our lives generally in some way, right? If we're not actually able to be resilient then, to allow things to shift, these habits to shift to accommodate the messiness of reality, if we're feeling trapped by our routines and our habits, we're not actually working toward those goals of better mindset, better health, and better lives, right? And here's the like kicker, the thing I want you to take away from this. Sometimes what's more nourishing than sticking to your morning routine or doing the thing, the habit, is allowing yourself to let them go. Sometimes letting your habits go completely is more nourishing than sticking to them. I mean, did your shoulders just drop? I know mine did. I don't know. And maybe you don't resonate with this, but I know there's going to be people who do. Let them fucking go, and it's okay. It doesn't mean anything about you. You're not a terrible person and you have not failed. So really the thing is allowing yourself, when life gets lifing, when this situation isn't ideal, giving yourself the gift of flexibility. So maybe it's doing a 5-minute movement session instead of a normal 40-minute movement session, or skipping it altogether. The key is allowing yourself to wallow in the softness of reality with an open heart and mind. Allowing it. Okay, so I've got 4 things I want to share with you to help you get more flexible with your habits. Number 1 is to know the intention behind them. Why do you do these routines? Why do you keep up these habits? Is it to feel? So let's go with meditation for a second. Do you meditate to feel grounded or connected, energized or peaceful? Do you meditate to start your day positively? Probably, right? Can you find those feelings or those results in a different, easier, or kind of a more bite-sized way when your normal routine isn't working for you? So for instance, with meditation, maybe it's you're with your family, maybe it's busy, maybe it's getting your cup of morning tea and just 2 minutes just sitting, letting your shoulders go, noticing your breath, noticing your bum on the seat. Like we did at the beginning of this podcast, that can be it. And we say, well, that's not formal meditation, but fuck people who say that. Like, it doesn't matter. How much more accessible does that make it? So notice if you can find the reason that you're doing it in a different way, the intention behind it. Can you find those feelings that you get from the habit in a different way? The second thing to help you get more flexible with this stuff is to redefine success. So maybe that's by doing a shorter version of it, like I just mentioned, an adapted version of it, or quitting entirely and just showing up and being present for whatever your day brings without any judgment. So for me, like when I went away with my family, it was like, okay, I'm going to read this book, I'm going to do this. That was success to me. And so instantly, because I didn't do those things at all, I had failed. So maybe redefine that level of success by, if you know you've got a trip coming up, or you have family over, or whatever it is, life just happens. Maybe success is just showing up and being bloody present with life, you know what I mean, and with people. Maybe that's success. And if you manage a 2-minute session, you are winning. But either way, by redefining what success looks like, there's no room for us to fail. We are no longer able to tell ourselves that we've failed, right? And I think this is the point number 3 in this, how to get more flexible with your habits and routines. And with everybody, is being gentle with yourself. Oh my God. And I think, I said one of my girlfriends is going through a divorce, and I think I speak to her every day, and I feel like whether she embraces this and loves this or not, I am constantly just reminding her that she needs to be gentle with herself. You need to be gentle with yourself when things aren't going to plan, when routines and habits are out the window, when you're getting a divorce, when you're sick, when you're tired, when you're feeling stressed, anything. Meet yourself with softness, not rigidity. It's not the end of the world. It's not, especially when it comes to habits, this is not the undoing of all of your hard work. I promise you, especially when you've kept up a routine for a while, when you've kept up movement practices for a while. This isn't the undoing of it. I promise you. You'll get plenty of opportunities to return to your habits later, because I think life is a constant attempt for us to rebalance. We're never going to find balance. Let me just put that out there. Balance is completely unattainable all the time. But your body, your mind, as long as we're in tune and connected to that interoception, right? That's our internal sensations, and being able to listen to them, feel them, and respond accordingly. That's everything from hunger, thirst, to tiredness, to anger, to sadness, anxiety, right? When we can tune into those things, our bodies will come out of this cycle, whatever it is, again, whether it's divorce or simply a holiday or whatever, and our bodies will crave that that return to your habits and to quote unquote balance again, right? You trust yourself, trust that will happen, trust that you'll get these opportunities coming up for you to find your balance again, to return to your habits. Right now it's about treating yourself kindly, leaning into what's happening around you and being bloody gentle with yourself. I promise everything is better without this guilt and without this lens of failure. And the fourth thing I want to remind you of in how to get more flexible with your habits and routines is to allow, right? Allow what's happening to be what is happening. And like, I don't know, it's fascinating. I can say that. It's a very simple thing to say. It's a challenging thing to practice, but once you start to be good and versed in that practice of allowing what's happening to be what's happening, it's like the key to everything. Maybe a conversation, a deeper conversation for another day. But here's the thing, changes in your routine and the dropping of habits, they aren't failures. And that's the underlying thing to all of this, right? Allow what's happening to be what's happening. This is part of the rhythm of being alive. This is part of the joy of this human experience. And the joy of this human experience is not in your habits and routines. I promise you that. They may give you wonderful structure, like they do for me. They may give you health and balance and support and all of the things that routines give us. This isn't a bash against them. This is about learning to understand how we can ease our way into being less rigid with them, right? So how to get more flexible with these habits, know the intention behind them. Why do you do them? Can you find it in a different way? Redefine success. Maybe that's a shorter version, or quitting them entirely and being present. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself, my friend. And allow what's happening to be what's happening. Life is always going to be messy, unpredictable, a little chaotic, and no amount of habit stacking will change that. So just a reminder, you are not a failure for skipping a few days. You're not self-sabotaging. You're not useless. The magic really is in realizing all of that and leaning into the balance between structure and flexibility, between showing up for your routines and knowing and allowing the times when you need to let them go. So the next time your routines go out the window, or the next time you see in your calendar a time when you think this is going to be a challenge, because life is happening, right, in interesting ways, remember, you're not failing, you're actually living. And that's what these habits are meant to support in the damn first place, living your most joyful life. I hope this has resonated with you. It really supports me to know that I'm not a failure when I abandon my stuff, my morning routines and everything. Because we're not, we're living, right? And I got so much out of being in London with my partner and not being rigid with myself this time. It was a different experience, I promise you, yeah. Amazing. Anyway, thank you for being here. Like I said, comment below. There's a comment thing. I'm sure there is now. I don't know. Maybe there is. Otherwise, go onto Instagram. I'll put the links below. Find me on Instagram and comment on this post. Or send me an email, chloe@theyogarevolution.co.uk. And there's some free resources that I have just made. Check them out in the link below in the show notes or whatever as well. I'm here to help you live your most joyful life, right? In a no-nonsense, easygoing, no woo-woo kind of way. So yeah, dive into that stuff below, and I'll see you in the next episode. So much love, my friend. Thank you so much for listening, my friend. I hope you're feeling sparkly and inspired to live a more joyful life. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a rating. These things are invaluable to me, and share it with people who need it. This is about inspiring more people to be more connected and lead happier and more joyful lives. Join my inner circle for more inspiration. Learn more at the website theyogarevolution.co.uk and chloemarkham.co.uk. I'll see you in the next episode.